What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of This Eye Guys Football Forum. I am one of your co-hosts, Amar and Tad, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the This Eye Guys, Mr. Tad This Eye. And Tad, we are bringing in another news segment. We talked about making the shift from talking about just general football to more fantasy football related topics. We're also doing some sports betting. If you heard the podcast episode last week, Tad had some great advice for you there.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
In regards to sports betting, of course. And so we wanted to try some different things. So this week we're going to bring you, and going forward as well, we're going to be talking about some daily fantasy sports. So we're going to talk about some players that we like this week, some players that are good value for you, and a couple players that are overpriced as well. So Tad, let's just dive right into this here. Who are a couple guys that you like this week? So let's start with one guy that you really like this week, regardless of the price. You are putting him in your roster for week 4.
So here's the thing with, daily fantasy sports is you have to find the most expensive position and find your bargain there, right? If it's baseball, you have to find the cheapest pitchers where they're still going to perform well and they're going to do well for you, right? Because then you can build up a good offensive roster. And it's the same thing with fantasy football when it comes to daily fantasy football. So I found the best bargain, the best bang for your buck quarterback, and that's Ryan Tannehill. So right now he's valued at $6,300 on DraftKings. Is he going to blow you away with great stats this week? Probably not, but look, he's likely to go over 15 points, even with A.J. Brown out. And now, breaking news the day of recording, apparently Julio Jones may be out now too. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But even with those two guys out, I still have a lot of faith in Ryan Tannehill. Why? Because, look, I know the Jets' defense, if you look how they performed against quarterbacks, they've actually been pretty impressive. I should put that in air quotes because, look, they actually haven't been that impressive. It's just that they fall so far behind that the teams against them just keep running it. So we look at week 1. Sam Darnold, who, by the way, holy hell, what a redemption season by Sam Darnold. He put up 18 points against them. Teddy Bridgewater this past week in week 3 and Mac Jones both, again in air quotes, struggled against them. But, let's look at the facts that Bridgewater, that's probably an outlier at this point. The Broncos with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon went up big against them early. And I know the Jets suck. No one was expecting the Broncos to go up that big that early. So, of course, Teddy Bridgewater didn't have to throw it that much. Mac Jones, a struggling rookie. If you look at most rookie quarterbacks in this first-round class, not a lot of them are doing that well. So it's not a huge surprise that Mac Jones kind of struggled there. So, look, I know the Jets' defense hasn't exactly proven themselves to be a open field for quarterbacks to succeed. But if they will, this is the week they're going to do that. So look at Ryan Tannehill as one of the best, cheapest options out there to really succeed at quarterback. So really focus on Ryan Tannehill if, again, you're looking for that bargain at quarterback because a lot of those guys are expensive. Joe Burrow is more expensive than Ryan Tannehill right now. And I like Joe Burrow this week. We talked about this in one of our previous videos, and if you want to hear our thoughts on that, check out our previous videos on the Decide Guys playlist on LAFB Network's YouTube channel. But if you want to go a little cheaper, kind of build it up so you can get a little bit of a better running back, I think Ryan Tannehill is your got to go to.
Yeah, it's not a bad option. I think just the biggest thing for me is kind of like you already mentioned earlier, just with A.J. Brown being out and Julio Jones possibly also being out. I wonder if they're going to lean heavily on Derrick Henry, which will limit the amount of times that Ryan Tannehill's going to pass.
He's on my team, so that would be great.
So I just wonder if they're going to limit the amount of times that they're going to throw then. So it's like, yeah, he'll throw, but just like whether he'll put up good enough numbers, I think that'll be the biggest thing. But I know you did preface by saying that he's not going to blow you away with like these eye gouging stuffing numbers sort of thing. But you know what? It shouldn't be a bad play, but just I wonder if he's not going to do enough to warrant starting him for that price amount. So that's my thought though.
Here's where I disagree with you real quick is for less than $7,000, if you have a legitimate shot at a quarterback getting you over 15 points, which Ryan Tannehill does, that's well worth the investment in my opinion. But I understand your concerns because, yeah, if a receiver that you're going to name in a bit, if he's your number one option, that's legitimate cause for concern, or maybe not. Stay tuned. So I understand your concern. So fair enough. So, okay. All right, then. Who's your first value pick?
So like I said, this is not really a value pick. This is more of just a guy that I think I want to build my roster around this week. And just like you mentioned, if you could get a quarterback for under 7,000, I think that's a good way to sort of build your roster around. And surprisingly, Aaron Rodgers is only $6,800 on DraftKings, and he's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And look, that Packers week 1 performance, I think that's in the rear view mirror now. Like, I mean, that was just an anomaly. They are totally rebounded from that. You got the classic Rodgers under center now. And then if you look at the flip side, this Steelers team is not playing like their usual selves. Like, their defense is, unfortunately, they're playing above average, I would say. But unfortunately, that offense has just not lived up to the potential that we were hearing in the offseason. Matt Canada was, getting Ben Roethlisberger to buy in. They have all these great receivers. Najee Harris, the first round pick. I mean, just like it hasn't been working, and that leads to the defense to get fatigued, and that's why they're losing these games. I mean, if you take away a block punt in that week 1 against Buffalo, they'd probably be 0-3 right now. Like, I mean, that's how bad this team is unfortunately. Yes, they are going to get TJ Watt back from injury. That could be a cause for concern, but the Packers just went up against the Niners, who had a pretty good defensive line with Nick Bosa, Samson Ebukam, D Ford, and they were able to contain them. I think they were only sacked, twice in that entire game, if I remember correctly. So they were able to hold up, especially with the injuries that the Packers have on the offensive line. So Rodgers has thrown 6 touchdowns since that week 1 non-performance, I should say. And he's also thrown for 649 yards. So, I mean, he's totally reestablishing himself, and I think he should have a really good day against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And like you sort of mentioned already, if you can get a quarterback for under 7,000, and in this case, Aaron Rodgers is just a shade below, I think he got good value there for Aaron Rodgers. So, those are 2 quarterbacks that we like. Do you have any non-quarterbacks that you like that you just definitely got to have this guy for week 4?
Oh, man, this might be my hottest take of the entire episode. Look, guys, I know the Bears looked absolutely terrible last year. We as a podcast have got a lot of hate for quote-unquote hating on the Bears. Here's your redemption right here, Chicago. Go David Montgomery. So right now he is valued with DraftKings at $5,800. And I know, how could I possibly pick a Bears player to do well this week after what happened last week against the Browns? Look, despite their well-deserved mockery, and plus, I don't know, the day of recording is Matt Nagy had another press conference, and people were like, please don't tell me this is the Nick Foles starting press conference. That's what state the Bears are in. By the way, Nick Foles is not starting. He said it's either going to be Dalton or Fields. But
really quick, though, Tad, I saw that press release and that news article at ESPN, and I texted you. I was like, just to foreshadow, I was just like, this is the nail in the coffin that gets Matt Nagy fired. The fact that he is like, I haven't named my quarterback. It could be all 3 options. It's just like, why would you say that? This is just, but that's a story for another day. But keep going with David Montgomery here.
God, what a screwed head coach that is. Like, he is no way he makes it through the season. Anyway, despite all of the Bears' struggles last week against the Browns, David Montgomery still managed 7.5 points, right? So I know people are going, well, 7.5, that's not that good. Of course it's not. But here's the entire reasoning behind this pick is 7.5 when you only manage 69 offensive yards or something like that. That's still pretty impressive. If you score a touchdown on top of that, that's a solid NFL fantasy start right there. That's 12.5 points right there. So check my math on that. I think I might have screwed that up. Anyway. Is it 13? I don't know. I teach English for a reason. But my whole point is, I know the Panthers have look, I know that Montgomery has struggled a lot this season, especially behind that offensive line, but the Lions don't have the same rush power that the Browns do. So they're not going to get to whoever the hell the Bears quarterback is going to be. Honestly, like, if you guys want my betting advice and you ask me who the Bears quarterback is going to be, I don't know. Just stay away from that bet. I'm sure that's a bet somewhere. Just don't do it. So if it's Dalton, if it's Fields, it doesn't matter because the Lions are not as good. I know the Lions have proven themselves to be much more competitive than people have thought, but that's still not a good defense. So even if he doesn't get the yardage, if he scores a single touchdown, I think he'll be able to launch you into those double digits. So if he's a running back 2 play or a flex play for you, I think that's well worth the $5,800 price. Look at all the other running backs around that price range. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a better bargain than David Montgomery there. So I know it's a huge risk to take, but honestly, at this point, I think that's your best bet to make.
Honestly, I don't see it as much of a risk because exactly like I said, with the question marks around the quarterback position, I think they may have to lean more on the running game. So that just means more carries for David Montgomery, possibly Damien Williams as well. But David Montgomery is the bell cow there, so he will get majority of the touches in that backfield. So yeah, and then you throw in the fact that it's only $5,800 to roster him. That's excellent value. I completely agree with you.
Bargain.
That's possible, depending on the field date that he has. That could be RB1 at a value of RB2, sort of, salary play right there. So yeah, I like David Montgomery as well. That's a really good option. For me, I'm going to go with Keenan Allen versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I'm going to give you a salary and you're going to be like, why is this excellent value? I'm going to give you a salary of $6,800 in DraftKings right now. And the reason that I like Keenan Allen this week is because yes, Mike Williams has been absolutely on fire to start the season.
Where is he coming from? Screw that guy.
I think it's that, Joe Lombardi system. I think you mentioned this in a previous episode where it's just like, spreading the ball around, getting the right players involved at the right time. And yeah, I think Mike Williams can finally flourish. Maybe he gets re-signed in the offseason. Maybe he doesn't, but he's earned himself a really good payday if he continues this. But I digress here. So the reason that I like Keenan Allen a little bit more here is because the price. Now, it's $6,800 like I mentioned, but Mike Williams is going for $600 more. He's going for $7,400 if I remember correctly. So you're getting Keenan Allen, who's the number one receiver in this offense, who's getting just about the same amount of targets, and he has the same amount of receptions close to it as Mike Williams, but you're getting him for $600 cheaper. So plus, they're playing the Raiders. The Raiders have terrible secondary right now. I think, Justin Herbert should be able to light it up against this Raiders team in a divisional matchup. They want to prove that they are the last undefeated team in the AFC West, and I think the Chargers will be able to do that. Plus, you also have to look at the fact that Allen is currently 8th in the league in receptions. And like I said, I think the Las Vegas Raiders is an excellent matchup for him to finally score more touchdowns, because that's part of the reason why Mike Williams is a little bit more expensive on DraftKings and probably a little bit more targeted in this offense, is because he's scored more. So he has 4 touchdowns. Keenan Allen only has 1. I think in this game, I think Keenan Allen will be able to catch up to that team lead in touchdowns. He'll be able to get 1, possibly 2 even, against the Raiders. So that's one of the reasons that I'm really high on Keenan Allen this week. I think he could bring really good value, even though you're paying maybe a little bit more at $6,800. Do you got any thoughts on Keenan Allen?
I mean, look, full disclosure here, I'm a Keenan Allen owner in the league with my college friends, so I absolutely love Keenan Allen. Here's why, is because I said this, I think it was our second video, maybe it was our first, one of our earlier videos. I said, I obviously care about receptions, but the number when it comes to receivers I value the most is targets. Here's the thing, Amar, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Keenan Allen, 2 out of 3 weeks, has received double-digit targets. The 1 week he didn't, how many targets do you think he saw?
Probably 9.
You're close. It's 8.
There you go.
So even when he doesn't get double-digit targets, he still sees a lot of time from Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert loves throwing it to Keenan Allen. So absolutely. You guys got to remember, this is the same Raiders defense that allowed Mike Gesicki, who I admitted last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, that I dropped off my roster entirely. They let Gesicki score like 8 points. That's a tight end who's not that good in this offense. So, look, I love Keenan Allen. That's why I'm a little frustrated with Mike Williams, is because, yeah, you are absolutely right. Mike Williams vultures the hell out of him when it comes to the red zone. But when it comes to the Raiders, a defense and a secondary, and you have to remember Trayvon Merrick, a TCU Horned Frogs alumni, go Frogs, is hurt. And I know he may play, but he's definitely not 100% healthy. So that secondary is missing, or at least, a key piece of that secondary is hurt. This is a key opportunity to capitalize on Keenan Allen's value. So I love this pick by you.
Yeah, so those are a couple of guys that we like regardless of the price. But now let's get into, Tad, here, some value picks. So these are guys that are pretty low salary, but can offer you really good return possibly. So it's a little bit of a risky play, but it could benefit you as far as building out your roster to get a good, under that salary cap. And then we also want to give you one guy that's probably overpriced that you should avoid rostering this week. So, Tad, let's start with the value pick first. Who do you like as a guy that's really cheap, but can be really good for your roster?
I really wish you didn't say really cheap.
All right, then here's your value pick. Because I remember we discussed this before we started recording. It's a very interesting call, but I want to hear your argument for it. So go for it.
I will state my case, Your Honor. Okay, here we go. My value pick is Nick Chubb at $7,000. And I know, I can already hear you guys scream in the comments. How can you say $7,000 is a bargain? But here's the thing. $7,000 makes Nick Chubb the sixth most expensive running back. And here's a stat that blew my mind. He's only $200 more expensive. And Amar, you're going to love this. He's only $200 more expensive than Najee Harris.
Wow.
In
okay.
what world does that make? Exactly. I thank you for that reaction. In what world is Nick Chubb only $200 more expensive than Najee Harris? One of the bigger disappointments to start this fantasy season. It makes no sense whatsoever. So let me walk you through this again, because I need to give a shout out to my friend Coy. I literally just traded away Nick Chubb because here's a huge concern for him is that Kareem Hunt really this season seems to be eating into his workload a lot. And that's a legitimate concern. I'm not going to say, that that's an overreaction because it is something to keep your eye out for. But this past week was his first bad week of the entire season. So take advantage of people being scared off. You look at what the team that they're playing did. They let Joe Mixon and Chris Carson put up 15-plus points. This is the Minnesota Vikings. Joe Mixon and Chris Carson. Look, Joe Mixon is having a career year, so that's impressive. Chris Carson, he's been the subject of rumors of he's going to get booted out of Seattle after this year. So that's not that impressive. So 15-plus points that Minnesota has allowed them to get. And look, I know we talked about this guy being a guy you should get off your roster right now. Chase Edmonds put up 10 points against the Vikings in week 2. Honestly, I think Chase Edmonds would have put up more if James Conner wasn't stealing touches away from him. Bottom line is this. The Vikings' run defense, not that great. Nick Chubb, really, really good. He's part of the best running back tandem in the league. And notice how I didn't say arguably. That is the best tandem in the league. So, you put one of the best running backs in this league against a run defense that has not proven themselves to be capable of containing a back of Chris Carson's caliber. You put Nick Chubb against him at $7,000, the sixth most expensive running back in this league. You are getting running back 3 numbers for running back 6 price. That's half the value. That's great value to me. I don't see why that's not a great value.
I'm not arguing that it's great value. I think I think the hope with this segment is if you're going a lot cheaper.
I'll go cheaper next week, I promise.
I think, honestly, maybe I should have told you this beforehand. You should have swapped Nick Chubb and Ryan Tannehill. But you know what? It's all good. It's all information. This is all going to help everybody out there.
We're working out the bumps in the road.
Exactly. Working out all the kinks here. So I got a pretty good value pick here, and hopefully this will work out for you guys. And this is wide receiver Chester Rodgers with the Tennessee Titans playing the New York Jets this week for only $3,300. So we brought this up earlier. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but A.J. Brown's probably going to miss this week, and Julio Jones is leaning towards he's not going to play this week either. So that makes Chester Rodgers the starting receiver. Now, yes, he's not a name that's yes, you need to roster this guy automatically. You probably have to argue and think about it a little bit more. But like I said, for the price that you're going to pay, even if they decide to lean on Derrick Henry, and make this more of a run-first offense just for this week, I still think that the amount of times that they will throw, Chester Rodgers will be involved, and I think he's the more veteran receiver of the group that they have out there. Even if you include the tight end, Anthony Firkser, or I don't know who their tight end is at this point right now, but I like Chester Rodgers as far as being the primary receiver in this offense heading into week 4. They're playing the Jets. The Jets don't have that strong of a defense anyways, so yeah, is he going to blow you away with these amazing numbers? No, but if you're building a roster with some higher priced position players at other positions, I think you get good value with Chester Rodgers. He can nibble here and there. If he scores a touchdown, that automatically will make it worth your while as far as rostering him. I think he has potential. He scored a touchdown last week. There's a very high possibility he'll get a red zone target. He'll possibly score for you. So, yeah, it's a very low-cost option. He's going to be the primary option, so that's why I say it's a value pick here. So, Tad, do you have any thoughts on Chester Rodgers? He's a former Colt. Maybe you can offer a little bit of insight here.
I really don't like this pick, actually, because A.J. Brown will probably be out. From all reports, he's going to miss a week or two. So I agree with you that A.J. Brown's probably going to be out. How many times have we seen Julio Jones like, oh, he may not make it this week? I mean, it's been the past 5 years of football here.
That's true, but I think also with them playing the Jets, I think they may be a little bit extra cautious too. That's just my concerning too. But you're right. They very well could obviously still play him. But, like I said, there could be a red zone target that goes his way at the value of 3,300. I think that's a good addition to your roster. That's my reasoning behind it.
It's a risk worth taking if you're really struggling for it, but I do think Julio Jones is going to play this, and even if he doesn't, it's exactly like you said. You have one of the best running backs the league has seen in the past 15 years. You're just going to give it to him 30, 40 times. That's why not do that? So I agree. Chester Rodgers, if you want to go all in on every other position and you just need that one receiver to kind of, fill out your roster, yeah, that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, it's a little bit more of a lottery ticket play. If he plays really well, then obviously it'll be a good bang for your buck, but there's a very good possibility that he'll throw up a goose egg for you too, so we'll see about that. But like I said, I like the value at 3,300, not a bad addition. Let's get into some overpriced guys, Tad, here to sort of close out this segment. Who's a guy that you're avoiding at all costs because the cost is too much and he's not going to be worth it? All
right, this is doubly risky for me. First off, I don't think he's worth it. Second off, I can't say his name. So we're going to try this. Tony Pollard.
Pollard. Again.
No, Pollard.
There you go. Okay. Yes, you corrected yourself, but you still missed it, buddy. You still missed it. Come on.
It counts.
No,
Screw
it doesn't
you.
count.
Screw
it doesn't
you.
count.
It counts. It absolutely counts. 10th time is the charm, my friend. Tony Pollard. There we go. Tony Pollard. I got to sit there and think about it for a bit. This is the last time I say this guy's name on this podcast. Is Tony Pollard. I don't understand this price tag. He is valued at $5,700. Why? Look, I know that he had a great week in the 20s against the Chargers in week 2, but I just don't get it, especially because Zeke Elliott clearly is starting to hit his stride, right? We talked about this on Monday's video of that's why I beat you in fantasy. Of course I'm going to bring that up. I have to. Is because Zeke Elliott had over 100 yards or close to 100 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. Zeke Elliott, after a slow week 1, is finally starting to hit his stride. His backup, I'm not even going to try it anymore. Because I keep on wanting to say Pollard, but Pollard. So Pollard has scored. I just need to say it over and over again. Pollard. But Pollard has not eclipsed 10 points a game since that Chargers game. Or not even since that Chargers game. Even before that, he only scored 7 points. So look, is Pollard a backup that the Dallas Cowboys are using a lot? And he clearly has some decent flex value? Absolutely. I'm not paying $5,700 for decent flex value. If I'm paying $5,700, he better be a low-end running back too. That's not what Pollard is. So I absolutely do not understand the fascination with Pollard. I think he is one of these typical guys that happens every season where he has one good week, people freak out about him, and he's really good. So I look at guys like Zach Moss, Darrell Henderson, if he's healthy, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. Get this. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, the unquestioned number 1 running back with the Kansas City Chiefs, is cheaper than Tony Pollard. Damn it. I just keep shaking your head. Anyway, he is cheaper than him. In what world does that make sense? It doesn't. You have so many. Oh, and by the way, this is a pick I actually absolutely love. I almost put him in the first segment of this video. Damien Harris, James White. It was just announced today of recording that James White's out for the season, which sucks. I feel really bad for James White. But in terms of strictly fantasy football, that ups Damien Harris's value exponentially. So, look, any of the guys I just named, they are way more valuable than Pollard. Did I say it right that time?
Yeah, finally.
Oh,
finally.
God. It's a struggle. But my whole point is, if you really look, there are guys way more valuable for at least a couple $100 cheaper. So just stay away from him. Just don't touch it. I know he's the hot name right now, but I promise you by week 8, we're all going to go, what the hell were we thinking?
Yeah, that's a fair one right there. Yeah, I think with Zeke sort of having the game that he had against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night, I think Pollard should definitely be eased off of people's rosters, possibly even dropped in some rosters that are season long, and DFS definitely do not draft him. For me, I'm going to close this out here. My overpriced pick is the Minnesota Vikings running back. So Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. Dalvin Cook is right now $8,100, and Alexander Madison is $6,600. So Dalvin Cook, after missing all of practice last week, he missed the contest against the Seattle Seahawks. He's finally practicing this week, and it's looking like he'll play against the Cleveland Browns, but it's still not a guarantee. And even with I think the biggest thing is just it's not a guarantee because Alexander Madison had such career numbers in week 3 against Seattle, so there's a possibility they may go with him for one more week. But regardless of who's playing at running back for the Minnesota Vikings this week, it's a terrible play because, I mean, Dalvin Cook, if he's not 100% and you're going to have to pay $8,100 for him, that's a bad move. Alexander Madison for $6,600, the Cleveland Browns are a top 5 defense, and they're especially good at stopping the run. They're allowing only 3.1 yards per carry, which is tied for 3rd best in the NFL. And they're allowing only 201 total rushing yards, which is 5th best in the NFL. So regardless of who's starting for the Minnesota Vikings at the running back position, you should not be rostering them because the Cleveland Browns will be able to stop the run and force Kirk Cousins to beat them through the air. So it's going to be a lot of airing it out. So yeah, maybe you could go with the Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins, something like that. But definitely stay away from Minnesota running backs because the price is too damn high and it's not going to bring you good value for it. So stay away from Minnesota Viking running backs this week, week 4. So Tad, that is our first DFS segment of the season. One more thing that we want to tease out to our listeners, to our viewers, everybody out there, is that me and Tad are going to have a head-to-head challenge in DraftKings going week to week. We're going to keep track of everything. We're going to post our rosters on the Twitter handle, so make sure you're following at the ticker down below. You got my handle, I'm the Side 23. You got Tad's at Tad the Side 94, and the big one, the show handle, the Decide Guys. We're going to post our rosters probably closer to Saturday, so you guys can see who has the better roster. We definitely want to hear from you as far as who has the better roster, who's going to get the win, and we're going to keep track of all of our wins throughout the season. We'll figure out some sort of bet, Tad, as far as whether it's money or some sort of...
We'll figure something out.
Exactly. And we're open to suggestions from the Twitter followers as well. Let us know what you think would be a good reward and or punishment, and I think we could probably do that within reason. But I'm excited, Tad. DFS is a fun thing, especially with football. I know we did it for baseball to see how baseball season's almost over. We had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, looking forward to some DFS football with you. How do you feel?
I feel fine about it. I only say fine because if any of you suggest that I have to buy a Texans jersey, we're blocking you on Twitter.
Yeah, so stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you're following us at the Twitter handles. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you on the Twitter timeline.